I call the evening session of our March 11th Nelson County Board of Supervisors meeting. And we will start with public comments. I do not have anyone pre-signed on the public comment list because this was the 7 o'clock list. If anyone would like to speak during public comments, this would be your opportunity to do so. Okay. If no one wants to speak during public comments, I'll close that comment section and we will go to the main event, which is information and public hearing on our proposed bond financing for high school renovations.
Tonight's public hearing is on the proposed bond financing for the high school renovation project. And the public hearing is pursuant to Virginia State Code Section 15.2-2606. The public hearing was authorized by the Board of Supervisors Resolution 2025-09 adopted February 18th. And our notices were published on February 20th and February 27th. The Public Finance Act of 1991, Chapter 26 of Title 15.2, and the State of Virginia Constitution provides the authority to hold a public hearing and to issue bonds without the approval of voters. 15.2-2638 says that voter approval is not required for a county to contract debt or to issue bonds described in Article 7, Section 10A, 1 and 3 of the Constitution of Virginia, to issue refunding bonds or issue bonds with the consent of the school board and the governing body of the county for capital projects for school purposes which are sold to the literary fund, the Virginia retirement system, or other state agency prescribed by law. And the constitutional language just prescribes the language that you see in 15.2-2638 here. So action that has been taken by the school board and board of supervisors related to this bond issuance pursuant to Code of Virginia 15.2-2640 before adoption of an ordinance or resolution by the governing body of any county requesting the ordering of an election on the question of contracting a debt and issuing bonds for school purposes, or if no referendum is required, as is in this case, adopting an ordinance or resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds for school purposes, the school board of the county must first request by resolution the governing body of the county to take such action. So the school board adopted such a resolution to issue general obligation school bonds for school purposes and consenting to the issuance thereof on February 20th, 2025. So following the public hearing tonight, the board will consider the adoption of Resolution 2025-18, authorizing the issuance of general obligation school bonds to be sold to BPSA in the spring 2025 pooled bond sale for the purpose of financing school capital projects, including but not limited to the design, improvement, renovation, construction, and equipping of public school facilities, including electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fire safety, roadway and parking lot security, and other upgrade and renovations at Nelson County High School. Just to go through what Resolution 2025-18 provides, it authorizes the borrowing of an amount not to exceed $25 million in general obligation school bonds for the purpose of financing school capital projects, as outlined. The bond proceeds will be used to repay bond anticipation note draws of $1,025,962 and project costs not covered by the School Construction Assistance Program, or SCAP grant. The resolution authorizes the execution of the included form of bond sale agreement, which indicates an amount to be funded of $22,065,327, plus if needed, an amount to finance closing costs and capitalized interest in the amount of the proceeds. BPSA requires that both a not to exceed amount, which is the $25 million, and an anticipated amount to be borrowed be specified in the resolution, which is the approximately $22 million. The final amount to be borrowed will be provided to BPSA by April 4th, 2025. No significant change, if any, is anticipated in that number. The resolution also authorizes the sale of the bonds and details the parameters of the bond issuance. Again, maximum principal not to exceed $25 million, and the bonds may be sold for a purchase price no lower than 95% of the proceeds requested. The resolution provides details of the school bond interest and principal payments. Semi-annual interest payments begin January 15, 2026, and occur each January 15th and July 15th. Principal payments will begin July 15, 2028, and occur each July 15th. The annual interest rate is not to exceed 5.5%. Final maturity shall not exceed 30 years, which is no later than July 15, 2054. Redemption or prepayment is not allowed in whole or in part prior to July 15, 2035. Resolution also provides that U.S. Bank Trust Company, N.A. of Richmond, Virginia is the designated paying registrar and transfer agent. The county makes principal and interest payments to U.S. Bank, the paying agent, who assures the money is properly applied for the benefit of the holder of the local bond, which will be VPSA. U.S. Bank also keeps track of the local bond ownership and assists with any ownership transfers, which is typically unlikely. The resolution also authorizes the county's participation in the State Non-Arbitrage Program, or SNAP, through the included form of proceeds agreement. SNAP receives, disperses, and invests the bond proceeds in investments authorized by Virginia law, also tracking the interest earnings. SNAP also tracks withdrawals of project expenses and investment income, allowing the county to be able to comply with federal tax regulations. Interest earnings can be applied to eligible project costs once all principal is spent first. As a note, participation in SNAP and the hiring of a paying agent are both requirements of VPSA for participating localities in their bond sales. The resolution also directs that a certified copy of the resolution be filed with the clerk of the circuit court in compliance with the Public Finance Act of 1991 of the state code. It authorizes the issuance of the local school bonds pursuant to the Public Finance Act of 1991 of the state code of Virginia. Also authorizes further action and ratifies previous action taken. Such actions to enter into and execute such documents, instruments, and agreements as they or any one of them may consider necessary or desirable in connection with the issuance and sale of the local school bond, including execution of a paying agent, registrar, or transfer agent agreement with the bond registrar and paying agent for the local school bond, and the redemption, prepayment, and refunding in full of the outstanding amount of the Economic Development Authority of Nelson County, Virginia, $2.5 million maximum principal amount lease revenue bond anticipation note, Series 2024A, utilizing the proceeds of the local school bond, other available funds, or both. It also authorizes or provides that all actions of the officers, employees, and agents of the county or the school board of the county previously taken in furtherance of the purposes of this resolution, including submitting a financing application to VPSA in connection with this local school bond, the VPSA application, are hereby approved, confirmed, and ratified. So some financing and debt service information. The VPSA 2025 Spring Pool Bond Sale key dates are as follows. The VPSA will approve applicants in the issuance of bonds in the spring pool sale tomorrow, March 13th, 2025. Well, not tomorrow, March 13th, the end of this week. VPSA bond sale commitment date is April 4th, 2025. That's when we have to commit to the sale. The bond sale is scheduled for April 22nd, and the interest rates are locked in at that point. And then the tentative closing date is May 13th, 2025. As far as debt service and funding, the annual debt service for this project is already incorporated into the county's $35.1 million debt capacity strategy, such that established debt service reserves and funds retained from declining debt balances cover this cost. There are no new revenues from the general fund required to cover this debt. A debt service repayment schedule will be developed once the interest rate is locked in and the bonds are issued. This is a page from our last debt capacity analysis, and it just shows that this debt is already considered within the strategy, and the debt service is already within existing funds in the debt service fund. This page is just showing what our current debt principal and interest payments are and how, when those payments take place, not including any new debt. So open for questions and discussion. We have Davenport here, we have Ben Wilson and Gracie Kaplis for any financing and bond issuance. Ben and Gracie here. And we have Paul Jacobson from Sands Anderson PC. They're our legal bond counsel, and they can answer any legal bond issuance questions as well. And school division staff are here for any project questions.
Okay, thank you. Do any of you want to say something to start us off, or should I turn it over to the board here?
I don't think I have anything to add to what
Okay.
Andy said. They
Okay.
covered it pretty well.
All right,
But happy to answer
Good job,
questions if you have.
okay,
I think going into public hearing, and after that's over, then if there's questions.
okay. Do we have any questions before the public hearing? Okay, then we will move on to the public hearing. So I'll open the public hearing on the proposed bond financing for high school renovations. I have one person signed up, Alan Dolores.
Hello, I'm Alan Dolores, 75 Wild Orchid Lane. You might recognize me as a teacher at Rockfish for 21 years, and I just retired 2 years ago. I joined the team at Rockfish when it was 2 years old, and I remember the day I walked in there, and it was like ready to go. You know, design, functionality, everything was running, and I was set to go. And I spent 2 decades there, and taught a lot of kids. And I saw them all in the play last week, and like this was great. And so I believe in the high school as a place that all the kids in this county go in. Eventually, most of them, even the private school kids end up there. My wife's a teacher at North Branch, and a lot of her kids end up in the play, for example, and go to the high school. So I think of it as a hub, a community hub there, and I just know that it's aging. I subbed there a few times after retirement, and I could tell the different phases of reno over time. Renovation's on my list for acknowledging that reno is not beautiful. It's unknown sometimes when you get into stuff you're not sure about. And I see that the maximum numbers are probably pretty well planned, but it might be hard to, add that much money to a unknown project because it's not brand new. It's when you're new, it's easier because you know what you're going to do and you do it. But renovation, especially for how 80 years old is the core? 1950s. How old is that core building? I mean, it's much older than I am. So anyway, I imagine that a lot's going to have to come down to get in there and see what is there to be able to actually make it right for the next generation, or 2 or 3. The other thing I wanted to add was that I tried not to write anything down because I wanted to speak from just myself, and now I'm stuck on the third item. I know there's one thing, just nothing to do with the high school, that I should just let you know. As a subscriber to the Nelson County Times, I haven't gotten a paper yet this year in the mail like I used to get, and I subscribed. So if those announcements are going out on the newspaper, I didn't see it. I didn't even know it was on the ticket till I called in to see what was happening tonight. And I knew from talking to my friends that it's this big bond, and so I'm here to advocate for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Okay. Since there aren't, I will close the public hearing. And I'll turn it over to the board. If anyone has questions or comments, we can do them now.
I mean, to me, this is something, this ship sailed a couple of years ago, to me. I mean, we're just officially doing it, so I'm ready to vote whenever
Okay.
you all are, so.
Okay,
No, I mean, I concur. High school needs to be done. It's time.
okay. Then I'll entertain a motion.
We just simply need to vote on the resolution, or do we have to do this bond sale agreement as well?
Just the resolution.
Okay.
It approves the other.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution R 2025-18, Nelson County Board of Supervisors, a resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $25 million maximum principal amount of a general obligation school bond of the County of Nelson, Virginia, to be sold to the Virginia Public School Authority for purposes of financing the design, improvement, renovation, construction, and equipping of public school facilities and providing for the form, details, and payment thereof.
Okay,
Second.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second. If there's any further discussion, we'll do it now. If not, we'll take a roll call vote.
Dr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. It's always great to see you. And thank you, Candy, for the presentation. Do we have any other business tonight?
Not that I'm
We
aware
have to
of.
continue to...
To continue.
Continue
Okay.
to the 18th.
Okay. then-
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this meeting to the 18th at 10 a.m.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Shall we take a roll call?
Dr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes. Okay, and we will adjourn and continue
Tuesday.
Tuesday, March 18th, 10 a.m.